and it is such a heartbreaking, eye-opening, beautiful story about discrimination and our prejudice and different walks of life. And oh my gosh, it has fantasy mixed with gothic, mixed with dark fantasy, and I love it. And I'm sorry. I read 46 books in 2023, and let's go through and review them. So I want to add more book content onto my channel because it is like my biggest passion, and I realize I don't talk about it very much. But when I was teaching, I was a 7th grade teacher for 2 years, I kind of lost my passion for reading, which was always my escape when I was younger. And so for like 2 years after I quit teaching, or like a solid year after I quit teaching, I didn't read at all. Like, not a single page. I had no desire to, I had no drive to, it just like, it took the spark away. So last year in March, I picked up a book and it was all uphill from there. I found my spark again. It's so exciting. And I ended up reading 46 books from March to December of 2023. I had a lot of really amazing reads and new introductions to genres that I didn't think I would enjoy. And I had some really not good reads. Please be aware that these are my personal opinions. The beauty of reading is that it is so subjective. Everybody has their own opinions. Everybody has different interests in books. So a book that I may have hated, you may love. And that's what I love about reading. So let's get started. I'm going to go from the first book I read to the very last book I read. Before I get into this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Milu said, pretty please hit that subscribe button. I guess I should explain how I rank books. I've gotten a lot harsher with books because I want to make sure that I'm giving them a fair rating. And before I was super simple. Like if I liked it, I gave it 4 or 5 stars. Like that was it. But now I'm trying to be like more strategic with it. 1 star means like worst book. I will never touch again. 2 stars is like, it was okay. Wasn't great. 3 stars is like, it was good. There was nothing wrong with it. There was nothing wow factor about it. It was just like in the middle. It was neutral. 4 stars is I really liked it. I wish I had a little bit more, but I really liked it. 5 stars is like blew me away. The first book that I read in 2023 is The Night and Gale by Kristen Hanna, and I have no words. A couple of years ago, I had read The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, and I absolutely fell in love. Historical fiction is a genre that I never, ever thought in my life that I would read. If you had told me like 5 years ago that historical fiction books would be on my top 10 list, I wouldn't have believed you. But this book stole my heart, broke it into a million pieces, but in the most beautiful way. 100% 5 stars. I don't know which one I like better out of The Four Winds or The Night and Gale. They are both so beautiful and so heartbreaking in very different ways, and The Great Alone is next on my list. The second book that I read in 2023 was The London Sance Society by Sarah Penner. This is the same author as Apothecary, which I read a couple of years ago. This one was just an easy read. It wasn't a 5 stars. It didn't blow me away, but it was really cute. I think I gave it like 4 stars, but now after reading other 4 stars, I would probably give it like a 3.5. It's about a girl who is trying to find out details about her sister's death. So she works with this medium or psychic, and it's just a really like cute, easy read if you like ghosty stuff. The third book that I read in 2023 is How Lucky by Will Leach. This was an interesting one for me. I believe I gave it 3 stars. It's about a man. He has a disease where he can't speak or move. He's in a wheelchair, so he's confined to his home. But one day he like people watches, and one day he sees something that's not normal, and it gets mixed into this whole like case. It's kind of like a mystery thriller mixed in with it. It's interesting. I don't even know how to explain it. It's very niche. If you like comedic thrillers, this is kind of down that alley, but it's not one that I would like highly recommend to anyone, but it's also not one that I did not enjoy. Now, one book that did not live up to the hype that is controversial, You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tao. This This was so hyped up on Book Talk to like break your heart and be the saddest thing you've ever read. And sometimes I like challenging myself with those things because sometimes you just need to read something sad. This did not live up to that hype. Was it sad? Yes. Like, it's just not memorable. It's about a girl who talks to her deceased boyfriend on the phone. And I just like, it wasn't as moving as I thought it would be. And it was kind of disappointing. I think I gave it like 2.5 stars. It wasn't the worst book I've ever read, but it also wasn't the best. One of the best books of 2023 by far, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I was a little worried that this one was going to be like You've Reached Sam and be super hyped up on social media but not live up to the hype. But oh my gosh, I think I read this in like 2 days. It is so beautiful. It is, I think I ended the book like bawling. It's about an elderly woman who used to be super rich named Evelyn Hugo, who has never told her story before. She's well known for having 7 different husbands, and she calls in a reporter to tell her life story for the first time, and it's just beautiful. If you haven't picked this book up yet, I highly recommend it. Honestly, I don't remember much about this book. This one was the next one I read. It's A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. If I don't remember much about a book, it means like it wasn't super memorable to me. And I remember most details about most books that I read. I remember now, I had read the description of this book, which I don't do very often. When I read this description, my mom had already read this, and I texted her and I said, this is my prediction, and my prediction was right. And like literally from the description of the book, there was nothing surprising. I gave it 3 stars. It was an easy read, but like there was no wow factor. The next book that I read was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I'm not a romance girly. I try. I use these as kind of like a buffer in between a lot of intense books. Are her books the best thing in the world? No. Did I enjoy reading it? Yes. Honestly, this one was probably one of my favorites of hers. So I think I gave this like 4 stars, but I would probably move it down to 3.5. It's about abuse, so trigger warning. There's not much to say about it. I liked it. It wasn't like obsessed with it. It was a good read. I don't have much to say about this. The next one is super controversial, but me and my mom both agree. It is The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. I loved this book. Not only am I obsessed with the cover, but I loved this book. It is about 7 survivors who had survived a bus crash on a field trip when they were younger, and they hold an annual meeting that none of them really want to be at this beach house every single year. And a lot of people hate on this book and say it wasn't great. I can usually guess the ending, and I could not guess the ending to this book. I was shocked. My jaw was on the floor. This one was a 4.5 stars for sure, if not 5 stars. I actually think I gave this one 5 stars. It was one of my favorite thrillers of the year. I loved it. So I know some people don't, but I did. This one's real controversial. I never even bought the second book in the series because I really just did not enjoy the first. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Remember that reading is subjective. It is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I picked this up wanting to read like a good series that wasn't like super intense. I just didn't like this. I felt like for it being about a bunch of puzzles and like tricks and hyping that up, I didn't think there was that much puzzles in it or like things to solve. So I think I gave this 3 stars. I didn't hate it, but I wouldn't go buy the second one. A super cute, easy read was Wayward by Amelia Hart. This one, I love like witchy books and generational women books. I don't know why. I just find such a connection with them. I think they're so cute. And this one is both of those in one. It is witchy women over 3 different generations. And I just think it's cute. It's not like the best book I've ever read. I gave it 3.5 stars because I really enjoyed it. It's not a 5-star book, but I think this is so cute. If you really want like a cute witchy buffer read, this one is amazing. Okay, the book that took me a whole month to read. A Little Life by Anya, I don't want to mispronounce this name, but A Little Life. We all know this book. We've all heard of this book. I'm conflicted on what to say about this one because I rated it 5 stars because the story was heart-wrenching. Every trigger warning possible with this book. If you're thinking about picking it up, just know that it literally has every trigger warning that you can think of. I think my issue with this book, why I struggled so much to read it, even though I gave the storyline 5 stars, I would probably move it down to 4 stars now after reading other books this year. But I think my issue with it is that I'm an English major. I'm used to studying plot lines, and like I taught ELA for 2 years, so I'm used to like that roller coaster plot line. But this one didn't have a plot. There was like nothing to work for. It was completely just narrative. It was completely just like a story. There was no climax. There was no like conflict. It was just narrative, and that made it a lot more slow moving to me than something that you're building towards. If you are up for reading this book, just know that it is heartbreaking. It's not an easy read. It's not for the light of heart, so do be warned with that. Ugh. I cannot say enough about this book. It is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. This book is 100% 5 stars. This book stole my heart. It is about 2 men that come from completely different walks of life. And their sons, who were married, got killed. Neither of the fathers were very accepting of their sons when they were alive. And now that they are killed, they kind of team up to figure out what happened to their sons. And it is such a heartbreaking, eye-opening, beautiful story about discrimination and our prejudice and different walks of life and how we view people from those different walks of life. And I wish I could reread this book for the first time, but then again, it was heartbreaking. One romance book that I actually did enjoy this year is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I didn't pick up the second one. I don't think I would enjoy it as much. Maybe I'll give it a chance one day. But Archer's Voice was so cute. Like I said, I'm not a romance girly. I did give this one 4 stars because I was so attached to the characters. It's about a girl who moves to this super small town to escape her traumatic experiences, and she meets a mysterious man who doesn't speak, and the whole town has kind of written him off, and they grow connected, and it's a romance story. Another thriller that I read this year was All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. This is the same author as A Flicker in the Dark, and honestly, like the other one, I don't remember too much about this one. I don't remember the ending, to be honest. I remember that this one is about a mom who has stayed up for an entire year without sleeping because her son was taken from his room in the middle of the night, and she can't sleep because of it. I remember this one was a slower read for me. I think I gave it 3 stars. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. Again, it was one of those thrillers where I could kind of see the ending coming. I don't think I fully guessed this ending. I think this one was a lot better than A Flicker in the Dark. So if you're going to try to read one of her books, I would recommend this one over the other one. But again, it was a thriller. It was cute. Wasn't standout this year. Now you want to talk about standout this year. I finally dived into A Court of Thorns and Roses, and you could tell by the cover how long I've had this because they don't make this cover anymore. But I picked this up years ago. I was never a fantasy girl. I was a horror, thriller, contemporary kind of person, but I picked this up because I just was tired of hearing about it and missing out on it. And oh my gosh, this started a snowball effect into a fantasy world that I can no longer get out of, because now all I've been reading is fantasy and all that keeps my attention is fantasy. So thank you, Sarah J. Maas, for ruining other genres for me, but I'm so glad I finally picked this up. If I could reread this entire series again, I would. A Court of Thorns and Roses, I think I ranked it 4 stars. It was really good. It really got my attention. I got really attached to a certain character in this book, and I feel like that's a thing that happens to everyone that reads ACOTAR. But I don't want to ruin it for other people. So, yeah. Right after that, I read A Court of Mist and Fury, and I thought this one was going to be my favorite in the entire series, and it's a close one. I ranked this one 5 stars. I think I read it in 2 days. I was obsessed. like obsessed. I love this book. I adore this book. I can't say enough about this series. I think what Sarah J. Maas did amazing in these books is the group connection and the friendship relationships. These books thrived on that. Like, the group dynamic in these books was amazing, and I want to be a part of this world. I took a break from ACOTAR after that book and read The Fourth Wing because this was being so hyped up. I literally drove like 35 minutes away to a Target to buy Fourth Wing. Not this version. I bought this version recently. But to buy Fourth Wing because it was sold out everywhere. And I'd never heard of a book being sold out like that until this book. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of reading this right after I read A Court of Mist and Fury, so it wasn't the best book of the year. I did rate it 5 stars. It was so good. Again, this is another introduction I kind of had to fantasy. The only fantasy that I had read before this in ACOTAR was Shadow and Bone, and I read From Flesh and Blood, I believe, but only the first book. So this one was really good. I thought it was so interesting how it's like every single page had a meaning. I heard someone say that on TikTok and it's so true. Every single page was important. And that is so hard to do. Rebecca Yarros did an amazing job at like making sure that it had your attention the entire way through. 5 stars for sure. And then it went downhill. I read Girl in Pieces because I'm a girl with anxiety and I thought I would relate to this a lot. Oh my God, I wanted to throw this book away and I've never wanted to do that. I hated this book. I'm so sorry for those of you who love this. This is Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. It just made me feel so icky. The way they represented mental illness and like from someone who struggles with anxiety, it's just... I can't even explain how this book made me feel. I had no connection to it. I didn't see myself in it. I gave it 1 star. Worst book of the year by far. I just didn't... It wasn't my cup of tea, but maybe it's someone else's. And then it went downhill again. So many people love Frida McFadden's books, and I'm sorry if you're one of those people, but I did not enjoy this at all. Never lie. I felt like it was super slow moving, and then once you got to the plot twist, it was like, oh, okay, that was kind of a good plot twist, and then it just kept going. And kept going. And it just got to be like way too much. And I wish they would have stopped at the first plot twist. I gave this one 2 stars. Not for me. Next, I went back to a Colleen Hoover book. I read Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. This one is about like, they're just like having a casual hookup the whole book. And it's cute. I don't think I liked it as much as It Ends With Us. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was an easy read. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was good. Next, I read Kristen Hanna's Firefly Lane because the last season of the show came out and I really wanted to read the book before I read the last season or watched the last season. And I wish I would have read this before I watched the show because they did such an accurate job on the show, minus some small details that like reading this was like rewatching the show, and I'm not a big rewatcher. I get pretty bored. So I wish I had read this before. I feel like I would have enjoyed it a lot more. So I think I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked it. It wasn't as good as The Night and Gale. It's nothing similar to those at all. It's not historical fiction. It's more about friendship. I have a feeling this would have been like a 4 star if I had read it before, but because I read it after, it's like a 3.5. But the ending, she knows how to do a sad ending. My favorite book of all time. Remember how I just said I don't reread or rewatch? I don't. But I did twice this year. Who am I? I reread House of Hollow because it's my favorite book of all time. This book holds such a special place in my heart and not that many people talk about it. I loved this book. It is a like dark paranormal type book, but I also think it's kind of gothic. And she's coming out. This is Crystal Sutherland. She's coming out with another book next month and I'm so excited. This is about 3 sisters that went missing when they were young and then they came back, and when they came back they were different, and it's just super gothic. It has like that whole flower element. It has like the gothic vibes. It has such an ethereal writing style, and writing style is so important to me that this book, like, it's really hard for someone to top this book for me. It's not like it's like the most amazing book in the world like plot wise, but just the writing style and how connected I got to this book, nothing can beat it for me. A lot of you are going to be mad at me for this, but Twisted Love by Anna, I don't want to pronounce their name wrong, but Twisted Love. people hype up this series. And maybe it's because I'm not a romance girl, but there were so many different tropes in this book. Like, it was like every trope tried to get thrown together, and it just like, it didn't work for me. I think I gave it 1 star. I'm surprised I made it through it, to be honest. I forced myself to. Not for me. Now, another book that I never really hear people talk about is Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. This one was such a cool writing style. So this one was about reintroducing wolves to the wilderness. I think it was in Scotland. Reintroducing wolves to the wilderness in Scotland, where they had wiped them out previously, and the story of that. And it kind of has like a romance mixed in with it. The writing style is so unique. It's not for everyone. It's very poetic. It's kind of like ethereal. Has similar writing vibes to House of Hollow, where it's like ethereal and like otherworldly, but it's such a beautiful story, and it has elements of truth because they have done this in multiple places like Yellowstone. And I love environmental stuff, so it has like environmental mixed with romance, mixed with really cool writing style. I ranked this one 4.5 stars. I really liked it. It's not for everyone, but it was for me. My favorite book of the year, because House of Hollow doesn't count. That was a reread, but my favorite book of the year. Actually, no, this wasn't my favorite book of the year. This was very close to my favorite book of the year, but A Court of Wings and Ruin. I adore this book, and if I could reread this over and over and over and over again, I would. This one I thought I wasn't gonna like as much because it was more war-based. It was more slow moving than A Court of Mist and Fury, but again, it was the group connections, the whole group dynamic in this book. I would rate this 6 stars if I could. And then I read the little Christmas special, A Court of Frost and Starlight. There's nothing special about this. I think I ranked it like 2.5 stars. It was cute. I think it was like a buffer in between. People often describe ACOTAR as like a trilogy and then it's standalones, which makes a lot of sense. And that's why this made sense to go in between, because the first 3 are about 2 of the main characters. And then after that, the 5th book switches to a different duo. So I feel like this was a buffer. This was told by multiple POVs. Wasn't anything special. I didn't love it. It was literally like a Christmas special on TV, but it was cute. And then I was on a desperate hunt to find something similar to House of Hollow. So online, everybody said, read Horrid. It's like House of Hollow. No, it's not. I don't even know what this was about. I remember I read it when I was camping. Yeah, I don't remember what this was about. I just remember I didn't like it. Not like House of Hollow. It was a lot more amateur than House of Hollow. I'm sorry. But I think I rated this like 2 stars. And then I decided to go with a super light read. I read The Samurai Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. This was really cute. I think I rated it 3 stars. I didn't hate it. It wasn't like the best book of the year, but it was really cute and I want to read the rest of the series. I haven't watched the show yet because I want to read the books first, but I don't have any complaints about this. Then I decided to read another Book Talk viral book, Daughter of the Pirate King. I've never read any like ocean books. This one was cute. Again, I rated it 3 stars. It wasn't like the most amazing book of the year, but it wasn't bad either. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I want to read Daughter of the Siren Queen, and I think a 3rd one came out too, but yeah, it was cute. This one is another like semi-controversial one, but I've heard people argue both sides. This is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I thought it was a cool concept. It's about people who are video game developers. I thought it was a cool concept. I found it super boring. It was really hard to get through. The story was super, super, super repetitive. Some people love it. It's not for me, but I think I rated it like 3 stars. 3 stars? I struggled with this one. Then I picked up If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This was such an interesting take on a thriller. It is about a Shakespearean play and these actors that are in the Shakespearean play, but there's like deaths happening and fights happening and like they're trying to figure out who did the murder, like the actual murder, not in the play. And it was so cool. I think I rated it 4 stars. It was such an interesting book. I had never read anything like this, and I kind of want to see what else they have written. Next up, I read Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This one was really good. I got really attached to this. I'd never read a book where death was a main character before, so it was super interesting. I did get really attached to this book. It wasn't like as good as ACOTAR or Fourth Wing. I did rate it 4 stars. It was really cute. It had those gothic elements that I love. It's about a girl who can't die, and she's had death like with her whole life. So when she dies, she sees death, and she has moved from house to house, like death follows her. Everyone around her dies, but she can't die. So she moves in with her relatives, the Hawthorns, and there is some murder going on, and her cousin is super sick. She's been poisoned or she's sick by something, and she's trying to figure out what happened. So she kind of works with death, and I thought it was such an interesting book. I did rate it 4 stars. It was good. This one was disappointing. I read All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, who's the same author as Razorblade Tears, and this one was about a black sheriff, a serial killer, and a small town ready to combust. So it has those like racial elements just like Razorblade Tears does, and those kind of social elements. I just found myself being a lot more bored with this one. It wasn't as captivating as Razorblade Tears. I think I still gave it 3.5 stars. It was pretty good. I didn't love it as much as Razorblade Tears, and that's what I was expecting, so I think that kind of let me down. But as a standalone book, I think it was pretty good. Next up, I read A Court of Silver Flames, which is kind of a standalone off of ACOTAR. It's part of the series, yes, but it is about 2 different characters, and I didn't know that as much going into it, so I was a little bit disappointed. I still really like this. I rated it 4 stars. A lot of people say that this is their favorite. Did really like these character storylines, and I was waiting for their storylines to happen. Did I like it as much as the other 2 character storylines? No, but I was also very attached to those other 2 characters. But this one was still really, really, really good, and I need an Azrael book ASAP. Then I read The Only One Left by Riley Sagar, about a woman who takes a job in a house where there has been a murder in the past, or multiple. A mother, a father, and a sister, I believed, got killed in that house, and Lenora Hope is the one that was accused of it, of killing all of them. So she took a job in this house, and I thought it was really good. I think I rated this one 5 stars. I did not see anything coming. I was captivated the whole way, and the cover is beautiful. Next, I read another Colleen Hoover. This is Reminders of Him. Honestly, I don't remember that much about this book. I feel like I rated it like 3 stars. It wasn't super memorable. It was kind of in the middle. I like the other 2, Ugly Love and It Ends With Us, way better. I don't remember what this one's about, so oops. Then I read None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, which is one that so many people love, and I did not enjoy. I feel like I'm on the opposite side of the opinion most of the time, and I don't mean to be, and it makes me feel like I'm reading something wrong, but then I have to remember that reading is so subjective, because when I went and looked at the reviews on this, I was like, wait, did I miss something? Because I didn't love this. It's about a woman who becomes friends. She gets like infatuated with this woman who shares a birthday with her, and she becomes like obsessed with her, and she's a podcaster, so she becomes like a guest on the podcast, and I felt like it was pretty predictable, and I didn't get like the shock value from it, but a lot of people love it, so maybe I'm just, I don't know. I think I rated it like 2.5 stars or 3 stars. I don't really remember, but I didn't love it. This is the best book of the year. Remember when I said A Court of Wings and Ruin was? No, this one. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig? One Dark Window. Oh my gosh. It has fantasy mixed with gothic, mixed with dark fantasy, and I love it. Like, I cannot emphasize enough how much I love this duology, and I was so sad when I finished the second book because I was like, what do I do now? But the author just announced that she is writing a second series or another book, and I'm so excited. But this one is about a girl who has a voice in her head, and there's these 12 cards. It's so hard to explain. There's 12 cards that you have to collect in order to break the curse on the land, and she like absorbs cards. So she has a voice in her head, and it has like romance mixed with angst, mixed with dark fantasy and gothic elements, and I adore this book. Then I read a book by Rebecca Ross, who is the same author of Divine Rivals. I had not read Divine Rivals at this point, but this is called Dreams Lie Beneath. I really, really enjoyed this book. She's like a magician who, each town has a magician who guards the town from a night every month where a nightmare comes true. So they have to log everybody's dreams in order to prepare for the nightmares. And there's like conflicts over the different towns and who's going to rule them. And I thought it was really cute. I rated it 4.5 stars. I really, really, really liked this book. It's not like one of her highest rated books, but I really enjoyed it. Then I read the follow-up to Belladonna. This is Foxglove. Not gonna lie, I didn't enjoy this one as much as Belladonna. This one was slow moving for me. The emphasis was more on a different character than the other character, and I didn't mind that, but I felt like the plot line wasn't as like fast moving as I wish it was, as the first one was. I rated this 3.5 stars. I didn't love it as much as Belladonna. I'm looking forward to Wisteria. I'm still gonna read it, but this one was a little bit slower for me. Again, I'm on the opposite side of the reviews on this one. Me and my mom read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and she didn't enjoy it, but I loved it, and most people did not enjoy it. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do wrong? I don't know. I think what drove me through this book is I love finding all the little connections between this and the original trilogy. As you can see, like all my little sticky tabs of where all the connections are. And I loved seeing a different side to Snow where you couldn't really tell, like, is he good? Is he bad? Is he evil? Is he just like naive? I don't know. I found it really interesting. Most people didn't enjoy this. A lot of people think it was super slow, which I can see that, but I think what drove me was the connections. Then I read Two Twisted Crowns, the follow-up to One Dark Window, and this completes the duology. All I can say is I read this in like a day and a half. I was obsessed. I was so sad when this duology ended. I want to live in this world. Actually, I don't, because that's scary. But I want to relive this world again. I love it. Then I picked up Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and I'm actually reading Ruthless Vows right now. I loved this book. Some people say it's super slow. Some people loved it. It has like romance mixed with kind of magical elements and a war between gods. But I found the writing was so beautiful, and the connection between the two characters and like the anticipation of those two characters and the romance driven, I loved it. I think I rated it 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. Then I read Iron Flame, which a lot of people said was a letdown from Fourth Wing, but I actually enjoyed this one better. I don't know why. I think it was like the anticipation of, at the end of the first book, there was a divide between two characters, and in this one it was like the anticipation of wanting reconciliation kind of, and I thought it was really interesting. I guess it's the same way that I like A Court of Wings and Ruin. I like the war elements of this one and the connections it brings. I rated this 5 stars just like Fourth Wing. I really liked it. My second reread of the year was An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I really want to read the second book, and I had read this one so long ago and I loved it. It's one of my favorite books. It is such a cool like take on a social commentary, and I've heard that the second one is more of a take on cultural commentary. It is a book about aliens, and somehow Hank Green mixes aliens with comments about social conception on fame and like how people view us, and it's such an interesting book. I love it, and I can't wait to read the second one. And then the last book of the year was Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. This one matches me. This one is not going to be for everyone. The writing style is super unique. It gets very confusing at times. I had to reread multiple paragraphs, but I think that's why I liked it so much. I love it when you have to like really dig into a book and get that deeper meaning. This one had about every single supernatural character you can think of, from like angels to demons to werewolves to sirens, everything. And I think that's so cool. I automatically got sucked into this one. I rated it 4 stars. It was really cool. Again, death was a main character in this book, which is something that I had just been introduced to this year. I really enjoyed it, and I want to read her other ones. I know that she wrote Atlas 6, which people have also said is super niche. I feel like I'm in this niche. I really enjoyed this book. And that is it for my 2023 reads. I want to know what your guys' favorite reads of the year were, so let me know down in the comments. Again, reading is subjective. That's the beauty of it. Some of these books that I was really harsh on, you might have loved, and I love that. I love hearing other people's perspectives on books and like talking about books and everything bookish related. So if you want to see more book content, let me know down in the comments and let me know what your favorite read of 2023 was, and if you have any recommendations for me for 2024, even though I don't really need to add more books to this because I need to finish my TBR. But yeah, let me know down in the comments and I will see you next time. Bye!